Hair, Love, Radio.
You're listening to Hair Love Radio, where we get into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to make your dreams a reality, start unlocking your potential, and live your best life, helping hairstylists, creatives, and girl bosses spread their awesome and light like confetti. You were made for awesome. So now is the time when I get to bring up our awesome panelist. And we are going to approach this panel different than any panel that I have personally seen. So when I think of people that I look up to or in business would like to pick their mind, these are the kind of questions I'm going to ask them. As if I wanted to pick their minds, which I do, and I'm excited about it. What kind of things would we know? And we're actually going to dive into not hair today. We're going to dive into things about fear, about business, about self-resilience, about choices they've had to make, because this is the whole other part. And it's really, really, really important that we own our craft and we're amazing at our craft and we attend amazing education. I teach. I have a business around education. But when you can be really amazing at what you do, and your business is running like a well-oiled machine because of the time you put in and the education you put in, what kind of power does that give you? That gives you the opportunity to step into your power and do the part that changes lives. And that is the part of connecting and making people feel something. You don't get to do that to your full potential unless you own your craft, right? Because that gives us the freedom, the room, the capability, the mental capacity, right? And so we're going to dive into that part today, and then we're going to open it up for some Q&A. And then when we're done, we're going to turn up some jams, and we're going to drink and talk, and you guys are going to connect, and you're going to take amazing photos, and you're going to have a really, really great time, okay? So if you guys could give it up, like a big, huge, warm round of applause for Lo Wheeler Davis. Woo! Lacey Gadegaard, the founder of Lace Hair Extensions. Cassandra Platinum. Woo! My little KL muffin, Miss Mermacord. All right. She likes the end chair, I think. Welcome, guys. Yes, so we're going to start with Miss Lo. And Lo, before I dive deep with you today, could you introduce yourself, what you do, who you are, all the things?
Hi, guys. I am so grateful to be with you today. This is a dream come true to be a part of something this incredible. I've been in the industry for 16 years. Sorry, I'm getting it choked up because I can't get that song out of my head. But back to business.
Mike, a little closer, they'll hear you better.
Back to business. I've been in the industry for 16 years plus. So basically, I started when I was an embryo. I've been a salon owner for about 3.5 years, so that's been wonderful and quite a process and a journey. In the last 3 years, I started working with companies, brands, coming to things in this arena and connecting, and taking my career to the next level. And so this is why this event is really close to my heart, because it's fueled me in such a way and brought me to this point. And so it's really powerful. So I'm so happy to be here. I'm working on my own educational brand for blonding, and I have launched last January my own line of aprons and shirts for stylists, and there's more to come on that. But I'm so grateful, and I've met so many of you right now, and it just makes my heart leap and skip a beat to be here with you today.
Thank you for being here. Lacey, will you introduce yourself? What do you do, who you are, why are you here today, what's your scoop?
Yeah, I mean, I have to follow Lo, of course, wow. So I am Lacey. I own Lace Hair Extensions, and just like you guys, I'm a hairstylist, and I remember the very first time that I got hair extensions, and I'm trying to like not be emotional already too, hearing Elizabeth talk and then that beautiful song too. So the first time I got hair extensions, I always had really thin, really fine hair. It's gonna date me, believe it or not, to talk about flat irons came out when I was actually in high school. For some of you, it can date me all you want, but anyway, so flat irons came out. My friends would flat iron their long, beautiful hair, and I was always just staring at it like, aw, because my hair was just so fine. And the first time I got extensions, it really changed my life. And they weren't very popular 17 years ago when I first started doing hair at all. And I really, really grabbed onto hair extensions, pretty much only did hair extensions. You guys know way more about color than I do, for sure. And I just kind of ran with it. I created a brand that I was using just for my own personal use. I created 8 years ago ombre colors that the industry had never seen. People thought they were super ugly that I did that. And my friends started being like, well, can I buy that hair? And I was like, I guess, yeah. So I started selling it to my friends, and then I was like, I guess I should create a website. So I created a website, and anyways, 8 years later, that's how long I've owned my brand. Here we are. I educate now. We've been on multiple runways for Fashion Week, Victoria's Secret runway, and yeah, I'm loving what I do. So that's me.
Awesome, thank you. Give it up for Lacey. Hello, Miss KL Muffin. Will you tell us who you are?
KL.
And will you share, this is a good one, will you share your Instagram? Because it's not your name, so people may not.
It is not my name.
Yes.
I did not know that I would go viral when I made my name. But I have always been super obsessed with mermaids and unicorns, so I combined mermaid and unicorn and made Mermacorn, which confuses a lot of people sometimes. But my Instagram handle is Mermacorn Hair. My name is Katie Lynn Christoffersen. I go by KL just because my last name is basically the alphabet, so it fits on a business card much better. But I opened my salon almost 10 years ago. This March will be 10 years. The name is Cheeky Strut. I'm a business partner in a couple lash lounge and brow bars named Siren and Proper and the Freckled Fawn, so that's fun. About 6 years ago, I started painting hair on a table like a crazy person. So that's now I joke and say I sell tables for a living, but I think it's funny. But yeah, so I'm really grateful to be here with this group of women. I will say that every single person that's in this room has taken the time to be here, and you will leave here with, a new set of like fresh eyes and confidence. I definitely know I'm already headed home, sad to leave, but happy to bring what we have shared here this weekend, to the world. So, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you guys. Each of these women on this panel are here because as educators, speakers, leaders, our job is not to stand on a stage and be cool. A lot of you guys are educators, owners, leaders. Your job is to serve. Do you remember when we went to school and what was our teacher's job? To teach us something that helped us better our life, right? It's to give, it's to serve, it's to bring light, and that is our job, whether you're on the education side or the hairdresser side of this. And every single one of these women embodies the servant mentality, and that's why they're here. Miss Cassandra Platinum, will you give me your scoop?
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Cassandra McLaughlin, aka Cassandra Platinum. And first and foremost, like everyone has said on this panel, this is a real privilege and honor to be in a group like this. I feel like our industry needs this. So thank you, Elizabeth, for having the vision. And also, I really feel like, to kind of mimic what they've said too, we all left Hair Love Retreat like completely changed. And I feel like we all had a friendship kind of outside of that, but the connection and the depth of our friendship over that weekend of just bonding was truly life-changing. So this is a really exciting second step on that. So I'm super excited to be here. But who I am as a hairdresser, I'm a hairdresser of 12 years. I started when I was 22. I was 3 years into my college career and decided that I was not destined to be an English teacher because I was pursuing a degree in English. And it was a hairdresser that changed my life. He handed me an invitation to the grand opening of a cosmetology school. And he said, I really think you need to go. And I love the fact that we're talking about blossoming into your awesome, because I feel like there's elements where fear can hold us back, like the song was saying. And so I, by nature, am an incredibly shy person, took the invitation, sat outside the school for an hour, and actually never went in. Because I was watching all these really cool people go in the school, and I was like, they were in all black, and I was in like a sweater and jeans, and I was just like, I can't go in there. But I ended up going in later after the grand opening, and I signed up, and I was the 4th student enrolled in that school. And so it really was a complete change in the trajectory of my life. And I've been, like I said, a hairdresser for the last 12 years of my life. The last 4, I started specializing in color corrections. I've owned 2 salons, and I've recently become a brand ambassador for a couple different companies, but Redken being one of them. So it's been really cool to partner with brands. And I recently just transitioned out of salon ownership and full-time behind the chair in February. So what I'm pursuing now really is full-time education, color correction education based off of Q&A, which is a little bit different for that type of education. And then I'm also working with brands as a consultant, really trying hard to make sure that the hairdressers have a voice in the things that manufacturers are bringing to us, because sometimes we have some really amazing marketing teams, but they're missing the perspective of us. And so I'm bringing that to some of the manufacturers and the brands I'm working with. So super excited to be here.
You guys can see we have a diverse panel, so I'm going to start the brain picking. And follow me here, Lo. Name for me your 3 biggest accomplishments.
Oh, wow. I'd say definitely my biggest accomplishment is like owning my own self as a woman and owning that it's okay to be like extraordinary in your own way. Business-wise, definitely getting licensed, opening up a salon has been something that I didn't know that I wanted. And I was always like, oh no, I don't ever want that. And when it came to my doorstep and it presented itself to me, I just shrugged and I said, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. So that was a big hurdle for me. And I'm embracing that and I'm loving that journey. And now I want to say a big accomplishment is to be here with you guys and serving the community instead of serving clients. That was a big hurdle and a big step that I've just recently taken. So those are my 3 points of pride in my career. And I have a lot of passions that are intermingled and intertwined with that, but I just will kind of wrap it up with that.
So I'm not done picking your brain. So with those 3 accomplishments, what were the biggest fears and things you had to overcome that in those moments you would have maybe looked back at your life and made a different decision or done something, could have taken you on a different path, and what did you do when those things came to you? Like what do you do with that? And how did you overcome that? So opening a salon, that's terrifying.
So let me just say this. To go back to that, I never saw myself opening a salon. I had worked very happily for another salon for about a decade, and I was super comfortable and happy with that. And that was my comfort zone, if you will. My life brought me to a point where I wanted to relocate, and so I ended up moving over an hour and a half away from my safe place, my clientele. I tried to work at other salons that would fit my spirit, my energy, what I saw for myself, and it just wasn't happening in my current surroundings. And so I failed miserably. I was that stylist sitting in the back room with my head on the table, no walk-ins, tons of experience, 0 opportunities. This is right before Instagram happened, and so I kind of tucked my tail in between my legs and went back to my old salon. And with that, I kind of surrendered at that point, and I was like, you know what? You guys know how to grow me. I still have clients asking for me. So I ended up working for them and commuting an hour and a half for 3 years. And this is right at the pedestal or footstep of where Instagram was starting to become a thing. And, I just took that as an opportunity to either stay in that situation of fear or to take my power into my own hands by utilizing whatever means or technology I could. And it happened to be Instagram. So with that, I just started to surround myself with people who would encourage me, like some of you guys in this room, and started to challenge myself, and I grew my own page. And really, when I quit that job to work in my own business in my own town, a series of events happened to where, like, my husband went out of work. I got in a gnarly car accident that made me struggle, and I really found myself in a situation where I could either sink or swim. I could stop doing hair, give that up, and maybe work retail or, investigate other passions of mine. But I just really said, you know what, this is my time, this is up to me. I shouldn't give up all the things that I've come to know and specialize in and learn. I can do something different. So I put in the work, I grinded, and I was coming from a place of, I have to do this. I wasn't sitting on my couch saying well, it'd be really cool to get recognition from beautiful work. That was never my drive at all. It was more of I need to pay my car payment. I have no clients. This is unfamiliar to me, and this is scary. Opened up a studio in my apartment, which is highly uncomfortable. Got triple booked doing that. And then at that point, salon ownership came to me. And so I could choose to be scared and unequipped and mortified and feeling like I didn't have the tools, or I could say, I can figure this out. Let's try it. And so that's what I did. I looked at my husband and I shook his hand and we said, we're gonna do this. And we will just figure it out as we go. So that's what we did. And it's more the mentality of not letting fear control me. Because those 3 years that I commuted back and forth to my old salon, that was all fear. And so as soon as I felt like I had had enough of that, I decided to just move forward and control what I had control over that day. So it's kind of that was a pretty loaded question and a loaded answer, but it's really dictated all my actions to date is just to be you know what, I'm not going to surrender to fear. I'm going to own what I have power to do today, and I'm going to figure it out as I go.
Just so you guys know, we're all figuring it out. Yeah, that's the conclusion, I think, across the board as business owners and hairstylists. The most successful people I'll talk to, the ones that you think have everything figured out, they're figuring it out too. I think that's a little secret, by the way. And I love hearing what you're saying because it's like Tony Robbins says, there is not a lack of resources, there is only a lack of resourcefulness. She didn't have the resources, she was resourceful. And when I met Lo, it was 2015, I think we met at a butterfly circus, and that was also the year I launched my education, and in 2016 I taught at her salon, and I remember her telling me, I'm going to open this salon, this is what's happening, and we've been friends a long time. Salon ownership has not always been easy for you. You are in a wonderful place right now, but you have had to figure this out and do things and say, this is the new game plan, this doesn't work anymore. And then you reinvented what was working and what wasn't based on what kind of environment and culture you wanted to see, am I right? You didn't open the doors and it wasn't like it was today at all.
No, in fact,
it was still beautiful, though. Her salon has always been beautiful.
So just to give you guys a picture, I was taking clients out of my tiny 1,000 square foot apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, which I still live in and I love. I got my salon lease, which was empty, and an empty shell that needed to be gutted. Me and my husband gutted it out all summer long. I was grinding the floors down myself, slow dancing with this heavy grinding machine every day. No life, absolutely no life. And I was still taking clients out of my living room. And one of my neighbors complained about it. Long story short, I got an eviction notice in my door while I was working on the salon. So I scrambled to undo that and call my landlord and say, like, I'm so sorry, there's a miscommunication, like, you know, whatever, I'll be out, I won't be working out of home tomorrow. And I had the overhead of my empty salon, and no stylist, nothing was even like being said online or anything. I rented a chair at this little tiny grandma salon. The stylists there were wonderful. They were like in their mid to late 60s, one French woman that was just crazy. And they just loved having me there. I was so grateful to be there. I was there for 2 months while I built out my salon myself with my husband. And as soon as I could go from that rental situation, paying the rent on my space, I worked out of my empty salon, unfurnished, empty, taking new clients that I didn't know or have solid relationships with by myself in a 2,000 square foot space. So it was uncomfortable as hell. And you know what, I'm really grateful for that time in my life. Like, I have my friend Frances, she's always been a support to me through this whole journey. And so talk to us both, because she'll tell you some stories of where she and I were there alone, and it was just kind of like this uncomfortable situation until it wasn't. And so I think going from that point, you just have to be willing to have unidealistic circumstances so that you can chip away and move past it and grow from there. I definitely didn't start my salon, you know, this beachy place of mavens and gorgeousness and the cutest team in the world or whatever. Like, that all came in time, and I'm really proud of where it is now, and it's truly my vision, and I could just cry thinking about that. But it definitely didn't start there. My salon was like a glorified garage for a long time. So going from a beautiful salon, staying in fear and commuting back and forth from Orange County to LA, to working out of my humble apartment and scared out of my mind, to then working in an empty garage, essentially. It just was very uncomfortable, but now I'm so happy I did it because it's paid off. And I have a support system and a team that I just love and feel so proud of.
I love that. Snaps of that. Oh, my. I'm just going to quote cool people all day. Like Jay-Z says, the genius thing we did is we didn't give up. And that's just the truth. I mean, the resources are not always there. The support system is not always there. The team is not always there. The money is most definitely not always there. And little by little, these things you guys are doing every day to move towards what you want in your life, it's like all of a sudden, like I walked in here and asked my team, I bawled as I was stacking chairs yesterday because I was like, oh my gosh, right? It's that moment when you're like, you're working on this color correction, you're building a salon or whatever you're doing, your curriculum, and then you're like, holy shit, that moment. Am I amazing, right? And then, yes, you are. Thank you, Lo. You're beautiful, inside and out. Hello, Miss Cassandra, you're next.
Hello. I'm waiting.
Cassandra is very smart, and you guys are going to want me to pick her brain for longer than I'm allowed to, but Cassandra, I love that you have been this liaison between the stylist voice and the brand voice, and she's someone who's been, she teaches on platform stages, she teaches independently, so she's very well-versed in education, extremely well-spoken. When I have to teach next to her, I feel like a, you know, like I gotta like make sure I'm speaking properly. She's amazing, and she's really, really smart, and I'm really lucky to have her as a friend, and she's now your guys' friend too. And so, would you kind of explain to me what you think the stylist voice to brands is evolving and changing as? Because we're in this world, like Instagram's changed our lives in the last 5 years, right? Whether or not you were like on it at all, like it's still changing around us because everyone else around you is on it. Your clients are on it, so things are changing. So what have you seen change in this last 5 years, and what's your advice to stylists based on what you know about brands and what you know about stylists and education, what is your advice to them on what they can do to get more out of what they're already doing behind the chair?
Well, I will say more than anything, brands are accessible, like more than I feel like they've ever been in our industry as far as reaching out, connecting, sending products, things like that. So that's been a really cool evolution. But in the last 5 years, I feel like overall our industry has just kind of flipped on its head. And one of the best evolutions that I've seen is that I feel like by large, our career is taken more seriously than it's ever been. And it's been taken to such a professional level from the outside, but also from the inside. And I feel like we're taking ourselves more seriously, which is amazing, and we should, because as an industry, I think that we have been undervalued, and we've also undervalued ourselves for a long time. And I think that what's amazing is brands are recognizing that, and they are looking to collaborate with independent artists, where I would say decades past, it's a lot of just strictly manufacturer education and product knowledge and things like that. And they're really trying to tap into the things that matter to us to help us grow our business. And I think by utilizing someone who can kind of bring that voice to the table, it shows that they're interested. And I think that that's a really important thing to recognize too, is that brands are really, they're more interested now to bring that kind of value to the table. It's education versus just product sales. And so that's been an amazing transition that I've seen. And I also feel like something that's changed beyond like the manufacturer side is the conversations that we have kind of within our industry. And of course, that's primarily due to social media, being able to connect from town to town, city to city. I know when I first built my very first salon, it was in a small town called West Plains, Missouri. Has anybody ever heard of it?
No one.
I did not think so. It's about 12,000 people. And so as a town, the average haircut price at that time, this was back in, I want to say like 2007, 2008, was they ranged anywhere from $6 to $15. That wasn't that long ago. Color services maybe were $45, $50, $85 if you got the big one. And so it was a really strange market to go in as a brand new stylist and a brand new salon owner to start a business. And so I decided at that moment that I was going to change that dynamic. And so I started off charging $25 for a haircut. So I got the whole like, who does she think she is kind of moment. But I knew what I had to offer, and I knew that I was going to do my very best to make whoever sat in my chair feel beautiful. And so that was pre-Instagram. And so I had a lot of moments of feeling isolated about my pricing and isolated about my techniques and things like that. Fast forward, 5 years later, I moved back to Florida in, I think it's a little bit more than 5 years, but 2013. And so I moved back to Florida and started my career again, and this time Instagram had come into play. And the connectivity that I felt was so amazing. Being able to see what other people were doing, to be able to ask questions and have people ask me questions. So I feel like as an industry, all of that has changed so much, and it's elevated it to such a high level, and it's just going to keep going.
Okay, so I'm a Redken brand ambassador as well, but you are too. So what does that mean? And I'm asking questions that I get DM'd a lot, and I think that you guys have as well. So what does it mean to be a brand ambassador for a company? Which first I will say this, Redken is a phenomenal company. I have only love and support. I've loved being a brand ambassador, and it's different than being an artist in the traditional sense, and both are amazing options. So first off, let's talk a little bit about, not necessarily pro and con it, but like they're both wonderful options to be an artist for any brand, or an ambassador, which is like this new option available to artists in our world in the last couple of years to represent a company or to be a micro-influencer for a company. And how does that evolution look? Because people are always like, well, how in the world did that even like come into your realm of reality? And I'm gonna make you tie in the thing that I said to you the other day. Yes, she's the bomb at relationships. You guys are here today to make relationships, right? There's a lot of wonderful stylists in this room who are very powerful and amazing and empowered. These are relationships. And what have they done for your life? Because I've watched you throughout the years at events.
Well, first of all, being an ambassador with Redken has been one of the best experiences in my career. They've been such a wonderful company to work with. And the way that evolved really was an organic evolution through just making connections and also showing up. going to shows, going to events like this, and then intentionally connecting with people that, for lack of a better word, you really vibe with, you have a connection. Those have been some of my best career opportunities, have been from those in-person connections. Social media is fantastic, but you got to back it up with that personal connection and then maintain a connection. And it's friendship driven, but it's also based off of common thinking in that way. And I feel like the evolution with Redken really was just that kind of personal connection and then just continuing that conversation. And the ambassadorship really kind of developed from originally the R team that we were part of, and then that conversation we had in Vegas, the two of us with a couple of the Redken members. So
we actually sat down and came up with an ambassador program and pitched it to a company.
Yeah.
We said, this is what I think the hairdresser voice is. I'm a hairstylist, and I'm around a lot of them, and we educate thousands of them, and this is what I think serves their needs. And we pitched it to a company that we had like-minded everything with, and we got signed on to be the first ambassadors with one of the biggest companies in the industry.
And I think that goes to
and that's scary, right? I remember, Derek will remember this, I sent an email, like literally like a spreadsheet, graphs, what I thought, and I'm like, this is gonna go real bad or real good. And like, that's fear, but like, you click send, right? And it's gonna be what it's gonna be. A no is a no, that's okay.
And I think that's a really important lesson that I feel like I've learned because, like I said in the beginning, by nature I'm a very shy and reserved person, but I had kind of a moment in my life where I was just like, if I'm afraid of something, I'm gonna make myself do it. Like I just had that kind of weird moment click because I didn't like being afraid to talk to people. I didn't like that feeling of being shy. But that right there, being willing to ask for things that you want, is probably one of the biggest yet some seemingly simple changes that I've made in my career. And I feel like that was a moment where it was like, we both looked at each other and we're like, we want to do this. Like,
and we had value.
Yeah, and we're like, why don't we just ask for it? And it's literally been career changing. We're 2 years in with Redken now, and what I love about just ambassadorships in general is they really allow you to be yourself in a way and like utilize your own platform and your own brand, and it creates like a true collaboration, which I feel like is where we're at as an industry in general. Everything is about kind of connective and collaborative efforts, and I think that that's also what brands are embracing with that, and that's what it gives fulfillment on that side to be able to bring something, your individuality to the table that way.
Yeah, well, and I kind of want to talk about something. It's a little unspoken. So an ambassadorship is not for everyone. An ambassadorship is definitely for someone who has an established something going on. And then there's this whole, I get asked about the artist program, and this is going to be the same for any company. We used to work with Paul Mitchell. Now we are very, very happy to be tied to a brand we love. But so any brand, so being an artist is a good fit, because people ask me, this is a good fit for someone who wants to educate, has the drive and the passion and the love, and they're going to be given education. I mean, when I educated with Paul Mitchell, one of the best things, I was making at max, I remember the raise from $8.50 an hour to $10, and this is years and years of teaching at schools and in little salons, as a really good stylist who was like triple booked behind the chair. But what I got in education, whether it was like speaking education, my skills, color theory, I mean, just that kind of stuff was really worth it. So brand education, I think, in an artist program is very valuable too, but they still want to see that you are promoting online and stuff as well.
Well, I think one thing to remember too with brand educators and brand ambassadors, they're really like flip sides of the same coin, meant to reach different audiences. And so I think looking at your career as a big picture of like, where is your power? What audience can you really connect to? If it's in those salons and working with those stylists one-on-one versus maybe on more digital content. Like, there's room for everyone to have a piece of this pie. And I think it's really about getting clarity on where your strength lies and where the direction that you want to take your career. And then just go for it and ask for it and kind of create the opportunities that you want, because that's what's really going on in our industry right now. The opportunities are infinite. You know, we were even talking about this, like even when we get together, there's almost a sense of being slightly overwhelmed because we see all these possibilities that are laid out in front of us. It's like, we could do this together, we could do that together, and it's a good overwhelming, but it's an infinite possibility to create literally whatever you want with your career. You want to be a specialist in something, go for it. That's available. There's education, there's support, there's literally, I know I've just said literally an infinite 20 times, but there's so many things out there that you can really go for. And to kind of speak to the relationship side with that again is one of the most important decisions I think I made in 2017. I pulled back from social a little bit because I think it's important, but it's not the most important. It's a component of what we do, and it's a tool to use, which is really important to remember because
it's marketing.
It's marketing.
Not who you are. It's not what you are. It's marketing what you are and who you are without it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a measure of your self-worth, which I think is really important to remember, especially, even like for me to remind myself of that. But in 2017, I pulled back intentionally, and I just kind of hit the pavement. Back when I started building my clientele back in 2005, hitting the pavement, handing out business cards, I went back to hair shows, to events, and just showed up as many places as I could. And I just made connections. And the opportunities that came from that, the alignment of my own personal brand and the development was just like an exponential jump in my career. And so sometimes you pull back to go farther. And that was my 2017, and it gave me a level of clarity that I don't think I've ever had in the direction that I want to take my career. And the friendships and the business relationships and the creativity that came out of that has been just so mind-blowing. It's kind of like what you said, that moment where I'm like, is this really happening? Did this really get created? Did this happen? And I feel like that's something that we just have to be mindful of sometimes, is being present and then showing up and then asking for what you want.
Yeah. Well, and I do a coaching program, and what we talk about when we sell, and this is the same in asking your client for, hey, I'm going to raise your prices, or asking for a job from a salon owner, or asking to work with a brand, is you give value, 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 value. Now you can ask for something. Does that make sense? And so just to backtrack, because I get asked a lot, and I know people get asked a lot, how do you become an educator? How do you do this? How do you become a salon owner? These things. I worked with that brand, Redken, for free for 2 years. I gave value because I saw that I liked what they were doing. They liked what I was doing. So it's okay it's actually very important to put yourself in these situations, right? And so I did that, and it slowly evolved. And so what's really cool about Instagram is if there is something you want, you don't have to, let's say you're going to go to a hair show to meet, let's say, Cassandra Platinum, and you want to work with her in some format, you can show up on the gram, you can comment and like her, and then, because for me, as outgoing as I may seem, it's actually, I get a little hard time connecting, I don't know how to go from here to hi, I'm so-and-so, let's be friends. And so I really had to bring it back to a really childlike state for myself to do it, because I'd watch her do it, and I'm like, how did she just talk to the CEO of something? What? And so I just wouldn't. And so when I bring it back to that childlike state of hi, I'm Elizabeth Faye, I love hair. We have something in common, and we start. And so what I love about Instagram is I kind of can do that and then be they might remember me, right? Hi, I was Hey Elizabeth Faye, we had a discussion in the DMs, and then it's sort of a smoother transition if you're like me and you don't have I have big girl bosses, but not balls, but not all the time. So she has big girl boss balls when it comes to meeting people, and I don't. And so, anyways, that's what I think is cool about Instagram, right? You're amazing, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Lacey. You're gonna have to share your mic. Okay, Lacey, you just need to dive deeper first on what you do on more of a scale before I get into you. Does that make sense? I want to know what your class is, who you work with, all the types of hair you sell. Do you teach all those methods? Do you own a salon? Give me the scoop a little more.
Okay, yes. I just barely opened a salon here in Salt Lake City. I was selling hair, which I know a lot of you in here came to my home to purchase hair from my basement, where I also did clients and education out of that same basement that was covered in spiders and Provo, Utah. It's pretty incredible. I'm still really proud that I do have a salon and storefront now that's here in this same town of Sandy where we're at right now. In that storefront / training center, I teach education, and to be honest, I was totally terrified to do education. 2 years ago, I had some pretty crazy health stuff come up, and I was too scared to teach education. People were flying in from all over the place, and there may be times that I was too sick to have that education. So I kind of put it on the back burner. I met Elizabeth several years ago, and she was always pushing me to be like, but you need to do more education and more education. And when she asked me to do Hair Love Retreat, I was totally honored and totally excited because I love extensions so much, and more of me wanting to sell more hair. I want all of you to have the ability to make women feel like I did the first time I got extensions. And like I said, it was life-changing. My company, what sets us apart a little bit is I am not going to drill your brain and scare the crap out of you and tell you, you all need to do beaded wefts, you all need to do tape-ins, you all need to do I-tip. I do not discriminate against any hair extensions. I love all methods. I think that there are different methods for different people. I do not think that certain people can support a heavy beaded weft. Their hair cannot. And so that's why maybe they need keratin bonds on the side. We have I-tip as well, which are put in with a little bead. And we also have clip-ins, which are a great method. So we do beaded wefts, hand-tied, machine-tied, which I teach both of those methods as well. We have I-tip, keratin, and tape-in, as well as clip-in. Did I say all of them? So anyways, I love all of the extensions. Yeah, and we keep releasing new colors. I know, we'll just drop that right now. This new color I have in, since you're all hairstylists, my lovely assistants actually are the ones who helped me get really blonde. And we toned my hair with shades, of course, but this color that I have in is not toned. This is the color that it comes, and I'm so excited that you don't have to tone blonde hair anymore. It comes like this, the color 32. I'm not trying to pitch myself with that, but we're all so excited about this color that you don't have to tone
not
down.
having this hair color.
Yeah. So anyways, that's a little bit more about me. We do have a salon. We do have an education. I travel for classes, and then you can come and take the classes with me as well. And I will be at Hair Love Retreat, which I am so excited about. I loved going last year, and yeah, I do. I love education, so I'm happy to start running with that a little bit more now that I'm feeling a lot healthier. So
yeah, well, what I love about your class, I obviously took it at the retreat last year, and I've taken it outside of that, is that it's very low-key. You're an educator in the best sense that you're so open. You make people feel like they can ask you any question. Like a lot of classes I've been to, I'm like, I just really have this question, but is it a dumb question? And what I love about when you teach is you would never make anyone feel that way, and extensions can be really hard. And you can make a lot of money doing them, but you can also rip hair out of people's head, and if you have gone over the hill to get really good at them, you have ripped out hair on your journey. And so, anyways, I love your teaching format. So talk a little bit about what happened when you kind of found out about some of your health issues and how long ago that was. Because this is very interesting.
Yeah, so...
You're okay.
Ooh,
it's okay. You're good, girl.
I was scared I was going to do that too, to be honest. So I will try to not get too emotional about it, but just like everyone else, we all have trials and struggles, and mine are definitely interesting. But I had just gone through a divorce. I have 2 little boys. I just moved back to Utah. I was renting a studio. Instagram had kind of blown up for me a little bit. People were messaging me on my personal Instagram. I didn't have a business one yet, and asking if I could do their hair, which is, why they had been coming into my basement. And I got really scared and decided to go for it and rent out a little studio salon. And I had hair hangings. I mean, I've seen pictures of it, and I'm like, I cannot believe I did that. It was super ghetto. There was it was a pegboard with hair hanging. People would come in, and they're like, oh, your lace hair extensions on Instagram, and see what I think. Sometimes they would walk in and be like, you're doing super cool things. And I think they were surprised when they saw my little I say ghetto little studio room because it totally was.
It was
but I
your
was really
warehouse
proud of it
and your
at the
salon.
same time. Exactly, yeah. So I was really proud of it. You know, fast forward a little bit into the world. I was definitely growing. I was behind the chair all day. I didn't do color anymore. I only did extensions, and I'm on top of the world, even though I had gone through this hard divorce, trying to be a single mom. I was working 16-hour days. And I was trying to respond to everyone's emails and everything with the hair extension company that I had started and that was starting to take off. And I couldn't, my hair extension company was making zero money. How I was supporting myself was being behind the chair. And so I was working full-time. And I started getting like really sick, and I just blamed it on, oh, I've been a hairstylist for 15 years, like my body hurts. I was getting insane migraines, and I was like, it's okay, this brain fog, all these crazy things, and I'm like, oh, it's okay, I'm just tired. And when I say I'm tired, I mean I could go home and like pass out and not wake up if I didn't have an alarm set for like 15 hours. It was just crazy sleeping. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. But then great things happened. You know, I got a phone call. I work with Sarah Patempo a lot. I'm sure a lot of you know who she is, amazing hairstylist. She calls me and she's like, hey, I need some hair for the Victoria's Secret show. Do you want to send some of it? I need it by Friday. The show's in New York on Friday. And I was like, I mean, I guess. Yeah, so we sent hair, and then she's like, actually, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah. So I was so excited. I go to New York, and I'm like, can't believe I'm at the Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York City, and they're using my hair, and I'm just like freaking out on cloud nine. I didn't make it to the show that year because I started having seizures, and although I was there, I wasn't at the show. I had seizures and crazy migraines, and I said to her, I'm like, I'm so sick, I can't, like, I didn't know what was wrong with me. So anyways, a week after that, more seizures, went to the ER, and I was told I had an inoperable brain tumor. Amidst all this, my company's taking off, and I'm just so scared to be like, oh my gosh, if they were like, she has a brain tumor, I was afraid that no one would want to buy my hair. So I didn't really talk about it a lot, which then in a sense was like, okay, well now because she's not talking about it, like what's going on? And I made my other Instagram, I have a personal Instagram too, I made that one private, and everyone, you know, it was just like this really crazy hard time, and we didn't know what was wrong with me, and because it was an inoperable brain tumor, they can't operate on it, that's what the term means. So it was just a waiting game, and they had found out with more MRIs, every month I had to get MRIs, they had found out that it wasn't cancerous. Sorry if I like made you guys sit on your seat to be like, well, what happened? But what they found out was that it was multiple sclerosis. And during all of this, again, I'm a single mom supporting my 2 kids. I have a business that I think that all of us I'll be very candid, like I've had this business for 8 years. I didn't give myself a paycheck with laced hair extensions for a very long time. Because of the brain tumor, I had to stop working, and it was really scary because, as I just said, the only money that I had coming in was the money that I made behind the chair. So because of that diagnosis, which then we have found out that I have multiple sclerosis, because of that diagnosis, I was kind of forced to stop working and really start to focus on running my business and listening to hairstylists and what they wanted. And I always say it was like the greatest and worst thing that happened, because I think when I could take a step back away from being, you know, so afraid of leaving behind the chair, because we all know it's great money as a hairstylist when you're super booked all day. That's when I finally was able to work on my business and fulfill my dream of education and create more colors and keep growing. And yeah, did I say too much?
No.
Okay.
Lacey is one of my favorite friends because I met Lacey, I think we were both married last time. And then in our friendship, we've divorced and different things have happened. And fast forward to now, and I told her this yesterday. Do I say where I said it? I'm going to say. Do I say it or do I wait? Okay. We're going to tell you guys something really exciting. Hair Love Radio is our new podcast, and we're launching it today with you guys, and we're going to have a big to-do about it in a minute. But her episode, I say this in the beginning, and it was the first time I had said it to you yesterday, was you need a Lacey in your life because she has such a wonderful perspective on life that it's just about living it. And you'll get to also hear her podcast, how she talks about, I'm so happy I'm alive. And you need to have people like that in your life to just like bring you back to ground zero, right? Because we do hair and we love it and all of that is great. But at the end of the day, we want to be happy and live our lives and feel alive. And you just have such a wonderful perspective. And when things hit the fan and shit explodes everywhere, I know I can call Lacey and she's just like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You know? She's like, take your kids to the park. It just doesn't matter. And so I think that even though this is something you get to be a warrior with, you get to share that light and that perspective with others, and that is your gift to the world. So,
with what thanks. With what Elizabeth just said, I was not like that 2.5 years ago when I first got. It was Thanksgiving weekend that I was home I'm from Cedar City, Utah. I was home there, tiny little town with my family, and they're all in the medical field and having these seizures. That's when they were like, go to the hospital, something's up. My face was paralyzed. And I remember that was something I was so afraid of too, was my face being paralyzed. It was just hanging. I looked like I had a stroke. And just being like that split second that I was like worried, well, what if my face stays like that? And then I was like, oh my gosh, they just told me I have a brain tumor and I'm worried about my face staying like that. And so what I'm getting at is I haven't always been the way that I am now with the things that don't matter. And when I do tell my story, it's not to be like, oh, I don't want anyone to have pity. I know every single one of you, whether you're a brand new hairstylist, whether you've been doing it for 20 years, are overworking yourself and squeezing in that one last client and missing the time away from your kids because you want to make more money, or you don't want to say no, or you don't want to, and I am grateful that I had what I went through to make me realize to just like step back and say no. And a lot of us don't, I'm sure most of you will never have, I hope, God willing, you never have a inoperable brain tumor diagnosis. But my point is that, don't wait for something like that to happen to make you step back and enjoy your life too. I love being a hairstylist, love creating, love all of that. Enjoy your other, enjoy your life too. And so I love that Elizabeth said that, because I used to be such a stress case and all of these things and worry about, the extension company that's getting released every other day now. And it's just oh my gosh. And it's just, to just not care is really, really hard, but also to care about what matters, your friends, the beautiful world we live in, your kids. And for that, I'm definitely grateful to be alive so I can enjoy everything else too. So thank you, Elizabeth.
No, I love that. Well, and I have to share one more thing you've told me, because it's going to speak to this point. And so it's when I've come to you with stuff. And it's kind of that thought process of if we're always, and I think we do this as hairstylists, one more client, it's more money, I'm going to say yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get more. And sometimes, and we talked about this weekend, when is it enough? When is more enough? When do I finally fill that awesome hole? I am enough, I created enough value, I did enough hair, oh my gosh, I can finally die and be awesome. And it's not enough until you decide it is. And so it's something that your perspective speaks to that. It's enough when you're hey, this is enough, I am enough. And money doesn't make it enough, another client doesn't make it enough. Life makes it enough. So thank you, Lacey. KL, how are
Elizabeth.
you?
I'm a little nervous about what the questions are going to be.
I'll be nice.
I'm getting emotional listening to everyone else's stories, so now I'm probably just going to be crying. So
it's fine. I'll probably cry. I sobbed during interviewing her podcast the other day. it really filled my cup. You guys still have to listen to it, and you get to listen to her now in real life. So, KL, tell us a little bit about, you own multiple businesses, like brick and mortar companies, right?
Yes.
Lash bars, salons. You're an educator of this fluid hair painting. That's what you're known for. It's what you've created. You have these beautiful tables to do it on. Let's talk a little bit about this.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
So tell me about your salons. Where are you living? Give
Okay.
me the scoop.
So my salon, Cheeky Strut, is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I moved to Grand Rapids when I was 18, and I didn't really know anybody. And the way I made friends was I was working in multiple bars, and I would make friends with all the bartenders and the waitresses and the door guys, and I was basically just like, let me do your hair, because I didn't want to fold towels or clean, because that is not my thing at all. So I knew if I had people in my chair, I wouldn't be stuck in the back room ripping foils. And, I knew when I was in beauty school, I wanted to own a salon. I did not know what that meant, but I knew that I kept telling everyone, I'm going to own a salon by the time I'm 25. And there's something about being super naive and sheltered to help you get to your dream, because they'll pat you on your head and say, like, oh, yeah, that's cute. You're going to own a salon by the time you're 25. But there was no doubt in my mind, and I have to remind myself that all the time, that in my mind, I knew I would own a salon by the time I was 25. And I look back at that now, and I'm like, anytime I start to doubt myself, I realize, like, probably actually 90% of the battle is believing that you will do something. And it's just taking a little step to get there every day and reinforcing that through the people in your life. And if those people aren't supporting you, then you need to find people that will. And luckily, I had so many people that were, cheering me on, encouraging me to do, pursue my dream, and let me try anything on their hair. I'm really fortunate for that. I hear a lot of stories where stylists are like, well, how do you get someone to let you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, they just let me. But I think it's, also like, yeah, they're kind of like, you own it and you have the confidence about it, and they're gonna let you do whatever you want. So yes, then at 24, I looked at the space that now is my salon, and it was the most expensive place on the list of 26 places in one day that I went and looked at. And of course, that was the space I fell in love with, and it was way out of my price range. The build out was way, way, way out of my price range. So this was like 2008, I believe. And then the economy crashed, and I was able to, pursue this dream because the economy went bad, and it's like the silver lining for me that I was able to open something in a time where a lot of people were going out of business. And my mindset was, well, if I go out of business, then everyone else is going out of business too, so at least I tried. But, I had incredible people that came, and worked at my salon, and I'm really grateful for every person that has worked with me and for me or been a part of my team, and it has been a roller coaster. I will, be honest with every single person that ever wants to talk to me about owning a business. It will bring you some of the most incredible, amazing moments in your life, but it will also give you some of the most painful heartbreak. But we were talking about this on the podcast, sometimes the pain that we go through, it brings us to the place that we're supposed to be. And I can look back at every painful moment in my career and my personal life and know and acknowledge and give grace to that time and not be angry about it anymore, and just be thankful that I went through those moments, because I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now in this moment in front of you guys. And I probably wouldn't have been able to say that a month ago, 100%. I would not have been able to say that a month ago. But the journey I've gone through in the last 2 years, some of you might follow me. I haven't really posted at all in the last 2 years because I've gone through some personal adventures, painful ones sometimes. But I found out 2 years ago that I was in the late stages of chronic Lyme disease. And also at the same time, decided to end my marriage of 6 months. which is hard for me to share that because it's very personal. But I've also learned through these women that it's okay. And it's okay to go through things that feel like failures in the moment. And as much as you sometimes have to step back, and I feel like that's kind of the theme of this weekend, is we've all realized how much we've had to step back in moments. And I can be honest with myself and say, like, I've not been the best version of myself the last 2 years. I, up until about a month ago, probably lived in a space of planning on the worst or expecting the worst instead of, I had always been the person that would see the positive in everybody in every situation. But I got comfortable living in this space of, this is my life now, and if I plan for the worst, then I won't be surprised and I won't be shocked. And I can tell you that when you live in that space, you are not living, and you're just surviving. And sorry, I didn't really mean to go this way, but I watched a documentary, and one of the things that resonated with me about a month ago, she said in this documentary, this woman had gone through a very traumatic experience, and she should have died. And she could have easily just laid there and died. And she made it through this experience. She made it through a lot of trials, and then she went into this depression. And she woke up one day and realized that she had made that choice to live. She had fought really hard to live through her experience, and she realized she wasn't living, she was just surviving. And that resonated with me because I had been in a place of, I was in physical pain every single day with no answers. I was in emotional pain, and then I was in mental pain. And I was just trying to get through every day. I was avoiding everything. I was avoiding, connecting with people. And that's a complete opposite of the person I've always been. So when I heard that, I realized, I want to live. I want to make that choice every day. And it's not these giant things like jumping out of a plane or, I'm living my best life. It's the little things of, what am I doing for myself today? Because I think as hairstylists, a lot of times we're people pleasers, and we start to lose sight of our own self. And so when we're going through a painful situation, we overboard, give to others and pay attention to others. And so we ignore ourselves to the point where, everything's suffering. But if you wake up in the morning and you ask yourself, how am I going to live today? Even if it's 5 minutes of quality time with yourself, how does that look? And since that's happened, I feel like I'm connecting with my family in a different way, my friends in a different way. My stylist, I feel like I've been able to see things in a different light. And before I was really combative. I was defensive. I didn't want to let anyone in. And I think these women and, Hair Love Retreat, attending that and having the opportunity to be vulnerable, it's hard to do that. But the reality is we get kind of in this mindset of leave it at the door. If you're going through something painful, if you're going through something hard, leave it at the door, muscle through, muscle through, muscle through. And that's what I always did. And this was a whole new experience. And even now, talking about this in front of all you guys, this is the scariest thing on the planet because I'm a very private, personal person. And but the reality is, it's okay sometimes to just share with other women, because I could have just hid everything from my clients that have been coming to me for 10 plus years. But when I started opening up to them about, I'm not in a good place or I'm in pain, these women opened up to me, and my male clients opened up to me, and people I had no idea, that I thought their lives were perfect and had everything figured out, shared stories with me that made me realize that I wasn't on an island by myself drowning. There's a whole world of humans that are hurting and in pain, and we just have to open our eyes and actually connect in a way that is in real time and not just on social media. My life is not any different from not posting all the time on social media. I know sometimes we hear it all the time, it's important. Yes, you should have your business side of things, but also realize if you feel like it's driving the vehicle of your life, maybe it's time to pull over for a second and reevaluate why you're doing this. Because if it's just to like put content out there without intention, or if you feel like it's so much work that it's like taking away the joy from your actual physical work, then you don't need to do it. You don't. I'm probably going to get yelled at for saying that by some people in our industry, but no.
And I think, it's real life.
The
Take
reality,
a step
yeah.
back.
Yeah.
We talked about this theory of balance, and like, there's not a balance. There's like the ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And there's different times of your life, like you needed to flow here, and then you know what I mean. And it doesn't mean there's not going to come a point where you're not going to do more hair, create more content, or do whatever you feel in that moment. But to just like have grace with the ebbs and flows of our life, because it's real life, and real life doesn't fit in a filtered Instagram square.
100%. And I will be the first to say, like, I get to connect with a lot of different people all over the world, people that we don't even speak the same language, but we're able to communicate. But at the same time, I realized I wasn't communicating with like a lot of real life people because I was exhausted from trying to like keep up with everything. So, I definitely love the social media world, but I also like have a part where I'm like, okay, it's okay. And I encourage people, like, it's okay to not have to feel like that's what's driving you. And that's not your only like source of marketing and building. I don't know if that answered all your, I don't even know.
I love you. I'm just like, the podcast yesterday, I was literally like speechless. I was just like, I always have something to say. I have nothing to say. Yeah.
And one more thing, I will say this, and Cassandra and I had this conversation the other day. When you do have relationships, whether it's online, in person, in your business, in your friendships, family, clients, everything, make sure that one thing I do is kind of look through my text messages. When someone texts me and they ask me for something, I kind of look through the last 20 text messages, and I'm like, are they always asking something from me? And
I love
and then, and I know that sometimes it's maybe feels a little rude and a little selfish, but I realize like if they're always only texting me and they haven't say, hey, how are you? Or hey, like, I appreciate you, or you're not feeling like they're filling your cup up as much as you're filling up their cup, like those people need to be moved to a different list. And that's a list of, I need to create boundaries with these people, but the people that are texting you and like sending you funny memes and whatever, and like actually are invested in you in a different way, and it's silly and it keeps you full, whether it's, you might give them a business advice, but they might keep you full because they keep your heart laughing. Like, really pay attention to those lists. And that's one thing I've really, like, myself reflected on this year. And, all of these women up here, and even you guys, I feel like, are filling up my cup right now. So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah.
Well, we love you, KL.
I love you, too.
We've been extremely real today, and we intend to stay that way. So I'm going to ask how your Hair Love Retreat experience was. And before you do it, we're going to talk a little bit about, like, I wasn't sure if KL was going to show up.
Yeah.
Like, that's where she was at. And so, I remember, like, 4 days before, we're like, there's a good chance KL won't come. What's the game plan, team? And so, and then she's like, oh, of course I'm here. And she came. But it was, we all go through these phases, even when you're KL, right?
100%. I think that was the peak of my avoidance phase, where I didn't have answers because I didn't know how to explain to people how much pain I was in. And one day I felt fine, and then the next day I felt like I was dying. So it was hard. It was hard because I hate telling people no that I care about. But like, for some reason, there's something that 100% inside me was like, you have to go to this. You cannot flake on this. You cannot let this person down. So I showed up, and I was so anxious. I didn't feel well. I was nervous about how everything was going to go. I didn't really know what to expect. And honestly, it was probably one of the best experiences of my career in a way that it made me look at our industry differently. There's so many women at that retreat that, whether they had 100 followers or 200,000 followers.
Or no Instagram.
That's true.
Shauna.
Every single,
We love you, Shauna.
Hey, I think that's awesome. But every single woman was able I guess guys too. I think there were some guys there, but I feel like everyone was able to really connect with each other and put aside ego and put aside any expectation, and everyone just was in the moment and really just kind of like loving on each other, building confidence with each other. We were compounding ideas, like, everyone would, share a little bit of what they were going through, whether it was a painful thing or an amazing thing or a confusing thing. Everyone was able to like get on the same level, and it was just like, I left feeling so much confidence in myself that I had lost. I had completely lost all my confidence, and it gave me the confidence to really choose myself in a way that I knew I was in a bad spot and I needed to get to a better place, and taking the steps to get there. So, and it was really amazing watching all the different women. I got to connect with a lot of them on Instagram, and I got to watch a lot of stories and, see posts and just see women grow, maybe not in numbers, but as artists and as boss babes, and just kind of taking ownership, but also seeing them kind of like embrace each other online and seeing each other at different events. And like Cassandra's in my phone as like super best friend babe, because
well,
she and I
this is across
connected.
the
Yeah.
board
Yeah.
Between attendees, educators, all across.
100%. If you haven't been, you should make that your like adventure plan for 2019. Yeah, next year. Yeah. So make that a priority. Unless you're all sold out, then I guess 2020.
Thank you for being here. Well, I would love to hear from Lo how your last Hair Love experience was. I want to hear from the panel, and then we're going to open up some Q&A, and we want to hear what you guys have to say.
So I just was so excited that there was finally something different available that was more catered towards creatives, because my whole life I have been so creative that I had this thing where I just didn't know what arena I lived in, because I never got good grades. I always struggled, and I was like a super artistic human being. And I think we're all like this. We're all heavily artistic in our minds and hearts and our souls. So when this event started to unfold, I was just all in, and I just told Elizabeth, I'm like, whatever you need, I will be there. I will slave for you. I will do whatever you need. I will whatever. You get the story. Going to that event, I feel, has transformed me in, I just feel like several levels. I'm like an empath. Does anyone know what that means?
I'm
I
telling
absorb-
you guys, though, this is what these events are different. And when you hear people speak, you connect like this, and then you add really valuable education and coaching on top of it. It's like nothing I've ever experienced. It really isn't.
So all the feelings and emotions in the room right now have me all twisted. But it's this times infinity when you go to Hair Love, because not only are you out of your norm, you're in a place where you're just totally stripped down and natural, and you can be yourself. The women there, it humbled me in a way, because I love being extra. I love the hair and the makeup and all of this stuff, and I packed my suitcase to the nines, and I just had to be just this embodiment of this low wheeler surfer blah blah blah, And then I get around these people, and they were totally natural, stripped down, guard down, there to be open and to learn. And the whole energy was it's okay to not know the answers, because we all give something different. And that really recharged me, and it invigorated me along with everyone else. I think one of the biggest things that I personally took away is just that you could really be yourself. You don't have to be perfect. And no matter what you see online, that's just one-sided. You can really come face to face and just connect and just be your true self. And you'll be embraced, and you'll embrace others. And came back into my salon after this trip, and I was just like, we are all going to this trip, and I just can't let it go, and because it's just so restorative from the inside and out. And when you switch your mind from the classroom, I feel really passionate about environments and energies. That's my communication. I love an environment, I'm happy. I feel good energy, I'm so happy. So classrooms have always been hard for me because, you're sitting and, you might be taught something that your brain isn't learning, right? And so the Hair Love Retreat, it's catered to each individual learning style because all of your senses are completely titillated. Like you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're smelling it, you're tasting it, you're breathing it, and you're feeling it in your heart. And it's overwhelming. I just love it. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of it and the industry and where it's coming. And I'm a big ball of mush. So I'm absorbing all your energies, and I'm just giving you all the love. And it's just a really extraordinary event, and looking forward to being part of it again.
Thank you, Lo. Putting you on the spot, what was your Hair Love Retreat experience like?
So I kind of want to tack on to something that Lo said, because it was something that was really important to me about saying, as hairdressers, I feel like a lot of times we start our career, and I know I was the first person who taught me how to do hair, or my mentor, was kind of telling me about smoke and mirrors. Like, you've got to be the superwoman on the floor to your clients. Like, you've got to be, you never have to go to the bathroom, you're never thirsty, you're never hungry, everything's happy, you're not going through a divorce, everything's fine. Like, present that face all the time, and that is exhausting all the time. And I think this was one of the first times that I felt that education and like reality and realness kind of came together. And like, we were all like very open and raw, and especially even as an educator, I mean, that's even like a more kind of perfect face forward all the time, like everything and you've got all the answers. And none of us do. And that's, for the first time, I feel like that was just such an environment that allowed us just to like breathe. And everyone there felt that, and everyone there embraced that. And so it was such a refreshing experience. And then to tie that into education and tie that into empowering each other. And like, the classes were so fantastic, but I think we've all agreed that the magical moments were when we were all just sitting down and talking. And we were sitting on the couches, just kind of laying on each other, and we all just like met each other. And it was just this instant connection. And I felt like everybody who attended the retreat, the attendees, the educators, we all just kind of had that thread that ran through us. It was like we automatically just knew each other. And it was a comfort level that I hadn't seen before. And for me, I struggle a lot with feeling like I have to put a perfect face forward all the time, or I have to know all the answers. And sometimes I try and tell myself just to shut up. And I think there it was just a free-for-all in an emotional way that was just so releasing and fulfilling. And I think we all just left with more space in our hearts and our minds to go actually create something. I think sometimes we model things and we do things with our hands, but it's not like the creation that's coming like from our guts and our souls. And I feel like you have to intentionally create space to do that. If you want something to be manifested in your life, you want to create something, you need room for that energy to move. It can't be stuffed down. And we stuff a lot of things down just as human beings, as women, as hairdressers.
Especially as hairstylists.
Yes, all of it. And then we also absorb so many things from other people. So we just get full. And not in a good way full, like too much. And so having that release and just being able to be like, it's all good, it's all fine, we're all gonna be okay, and nothing has to be perfect. Like, I think for me, that was one of the biggest lessons and kind of transitions that I walked away from,
We love you. And this is the first time I've ever seen educators. I mean, these are my friends, you guys are my friends, but I've never seen my friends who I look up to who are very well spoken, their curriculums are incredible, their craft is incredible. I had never seen them teach like this, ever. Have you? I've never seen that. Yeah. I mean, you guys are seeing it today. We all might as well like be naked up here. Really, like everyone's just we're giving it all. I'm almost, but Lacey, what was your hair love experience like?
So when Elizabeth, thanks. So Elizabeth said she explained to me what was going on and asked me to be an educator there, and I was like super excited when I heard at the panel. I was like, I mean, like really, like I'm gonna be an educator with them? Like they're incredible people. I felt a little bit small and was kind of scared to kind of rebrand my education again and start in this huge space. But other than that, what she asked me, she said, you can say no, but I actually am going to give you like an hour to tell your story because I think everyone needs to hear it. And I was like, what story? What story? And she's like, duh, the story that like inspires people. And I like almost didn't know what she was talking about. And you know, long story short, it was my health journey is what she wanted me to talk about. And I'm thinking in an education realm, I go help with other, behind the chair events or something like that. Like it's all about the hair. And I'm like, no one wants to hear like, wah, wah. I was really, I didn't realize that my story would inspire people. And she's like, no, it inspires people. And I think from that, it helped me more than she wanted me to help other people by telling my story. But I think more than anything, it helped me a lot more to share that. And I think that was my biggest takeaway is that people do want to hear your story. They want you to be open. It doesn't matter. They want to know that you're real. And I think like it kind of transformed even like my life on social media or everywhere I go. I was like, it brought me back to earth and made me want to be more real. And because of that, I started a foundation for women suffering hair loss. And I mean, there's so many things that we can, thank you.
We're making it a part of Hair Love.
Yeah. So,
this is me.
So I mean, there's just so
that.
many things when you're open and honest with each other. And I think that it made me realize like we are not competing against each other. We help each other. We love each other. And there's a lot of goodness to go around. And for that, I am the most grateful. So.
We are grateful for you. Well, we have time for 2 questions. So can a few people, if you'd like to, ask anyone on the panel something that you would like? If you raise your hand, one of our team members will bring you something. And if you don't have a question, that's okay too. We got them. Okay, there's our 2.
Can you talk a little bit about social media and like how to, I don't know, get more followers, gain a bigger following on that and market yourself?
Yes. Cassandra, I'm going to let you take this one.
So you said, I'm sorry, to get more following on social media?
Yeah, like how you went about
And maybe
marketing
touch on
yourself
your
and gaining
purpose.
exposure.
Well, and there's a couple different, I always like to liken it kind of between actual behaviors and then thought process. And I think one of the first things to do is to start with a clear thought process. And it's hard with social media because I feel like we always see that kind of comparison and then we try and model or mimic. But what we have to do is take a step back. One, realize why you want to do it. If you're trying to grow a clientele, that's a very specific type of action that you're going to use. If you want to work with brands or if you want to become an influencer or if you're trying to grow your education business, those all have different kind of paths and ideas behind them. So that's number 1. Decide what you actually want to do with it. And don't just start posting things just kind of randomly to post them. Again, this is a point to take a step back before you go forward. And then figure out what areas of your business you want to grow and who you are as a hairdresser. And I think almost working through a brand strategy mindset, it's really kind of looking at it as a marketing tool versus just social media. Because sometimes it's hard. It sits in this weird in-between of business and personal, but it really is something ultimately for business. So if you're trying to grow, say for instance, a color business, one of the best tips I give in my classes is just remember to start taking befores and afters and then just start letting go of that kind of intimidation of getting the perfect picture and just start creating content. and exercising, posting every day, move forward, kind of make yourself vulnerable, because that's what happens, I think, at the beginning of any new business journey and anything that you create. Like when you first started doing foil highlights, like it all felt super uncomfortable and awkward, but now you could probably do it with your eyes closed. And so it's the same thing. Create the content, post every day, and engage with your followers and engage with people that you have that connection with. And I know that those sound really fundamental, but that is really the answer. Other than that, it's all kind of guesswork and pattern recognition.
Yeah, and marketing, there's obviously a lot of education, and this is by no means a plug, but we have a specific e-course. Like, I would say hire a coach.
Yeah.
My coach is Danny, who walked up. She has coaches. So like Workshop in a Box, Kylie's in it, there's a few people here. We literally walk you through how to use ads, how to hashtag market, things like that. There's a lot of education in that. And so feel free to reach out. I don't think there is a simple answer on a panel that is like, this is the golden nugget. My golden nugget would be, it's not a secret tool that magically does anything. Find your purpose and what you want to sell. And like, honestly, education, just like you would on balayage. I think that's something like we forget as stylists. Like we didn't go to school to learn how to market ourselves. And so if you can learn to sell what you love to do with all your heart, what do you have? A successful business and a life you want to live. So like, honestly, my advice, whether it be me or someone else, like hire a coach, get education on it, because it can go a lot of different ways. So, but find your purpose. What do you want to sell and why? That would be like starting ground one. We had another question.
Sweet. Okay, so this is mostly just for Lacey, I guess. If you, like when you were trying to figure out what hair you wanted to use and like where to get it and all of that, how did you go about like digging in deeper than other people obviously had? Because you can't just like hop on and be like, I'm gonna buy extensions and then upsell them even more. So like, how did you go about that when nobody else was obviously teaching you how to do that?
That was like
That's a loaded question.
I know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, so honestly, I was making my own hair. I was cutting wefts off, creating, like I would buy hair in a big long weft, and then I would cut the hair and mix in 2 colors. 8 years ago, 10 years ago, actually longer than 8 years ago, 10, 12 years ago when I was doing this, there was not a lot of colors. So I was making my own. And from that, I was just like, okay, well, I'm doing this. I bet I can have a manufacturer do that for me. And that's kind of what I did. There wasn't any other extension brands. I'm sure there were, but Instagram wasn't a thing yet. So there wasn't another hairstylist extension brand, I should say. They were all by big-time CEO guys that just saw a business opportunity. And for me, it was what it was different about mine was that I wanted it for my use, and I wanted to create something that was perfect for what I wanted. So I would say that's kind of what I did, was just create something that I wanted, and it kind of caught on. Other people were like, well, I want that too. So yeah, I tried a whole bunch of different companies. I invested my entire life savings, drove my husband to divorce me. I'm just kidding, that's not why we got divorced. But I'm just saying, like, it almost ruined a lot of relationships because I had spent so much time, so much money. I didn't have really a lot of other people to kind of look up to get ideas from. So it took me a few years of trying a lot of bad hair, which if any of you have done extensions before and used bad hair, you know it exists. And I finally did find a partnership that I keep very dear in a vault that I do not reveal that secret. But it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. I almost lost everything.
I guess it would say you're probably wanting to start some product line of some sort on, and I know this comes back to it, and I am not the coach for you. There are coaches in anything and everything you can think of in the world. I would hire a coach. If your dream is to start a product line or something, you're going to want to start finding manufacturers, trying out stuff. Like, you're going to have to go down the rabbit hole of that journey, just like salon owners do, just like Lacey did. And you can definitely hire people. I don't have a specific person, but there's like literally a coach for any business you can think of. And so I always come back to like, it's education and a coach, and then it's trial and error. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would show.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a coach, but that would have been a
But
great
it
idea.
but nowadays there's the internet. You really can find people, and there's even companies that will help people produce products. You know, I mean, it takes moolah or big loans, lots of debt, scary things. But yeah. So I'm assuming that's kind of what you're wanting to know is I want to start a product line. Where do I start? And I would start reaching out to people who are like maybe on like a ground zero level as like you that have started building little products. Like Wildflower Gypsy is one of our sponsors in the giveaway basket. She is going to have experience more on like that level versus like 10 years later because there's like all this stuff in between Lacey did. So for her to give you like this answer wouldn't be applicable to where you're at the moment, where like she's actually an awesome connection. I'm her coach, not on manufacturing, but on social and business. That would be a great connection to start with and see what other people are doing. Does that help? Okay, awesome. Can we give it up for our panelist? Thank you guys for being here. Maisie, can you bring me those fun items? Eli, do you have what I need? Okay, I love the finger. But like he went like this, like he's so on board. Okay, I love it. We just met Eli and we love him so much. He's been equally excited as our team. So we're going to announce something really exciting, and I kind of already let it slip because I'm terrible at secrets. My whole team is like rolling their eyes. I'm like told at like the end of events, like, you're not allowed to speak about your future events. And I'm like, but why? There'll be unicorns there. And they're like, no, there won't be. And so I have to like rein my excitement in. But this I can finally tell you. So if what we're doing speaks to you, honestly, please share it. The only way we're able to create these communities is by you guys being involved and continuing, like, please share online, please tell your friends. We want you to be involved. If you want to be on our blog, you want to collaborate, like, this is a community for stylists by stylists. The platform's not for me. It's not necessarily just for them. It's for everyone, right? And so we bring together innovative, bright minds to inspire others. And if there's something that you feel called to do in what we're doing, like, we would love to hear from you. And with that being said, this is where the podcast was born. And so we wanted just a real radio station for people in our industry where we can talk about things that it's obviously we're going to talk about hair. We're definitely going to talk about business. And we're going to give away things like how to really market things that sell, like really tactical things that when people listen to, they can take it back and apply it to their lives. But we're also talking to other people who have done things and been through things and can share their light and love. And so we're so excited. Hair Love Radio.
Love Radio.
So it is officially live as of today, and per our marketing director, Emily, is it true that they can only find it on the blog at the moment? Hair Love Retreat /podcast, or it'll say podcast on the website. There are 4 episodes up. The first one is about fear. One's about coming into your power, one's about fear, one is an interview with our dear friend Jamie C., Pretty Little Ombre, and the other one is an interview with Danny J., who introduced me today. She's a phenomenal coach, by the way. Interviewing her, you're just going to hear from people who are really badass, and it's really real conversations and information, and I'm just going to tell you because it's fun. December 3rd, we are having another Hair Love Club in LA, and it's called Reach for the Stars, and it's all about serving our community with more kindness. We are partnered with a man named Joshua Coombs and Redken, and Joshua Coombs is one of our keynote speakers, and to my boyfriend, you're the hottest man in the whole world, but you guys will probably think Joshua's really hot, just saying. And and that is my sexy boyfriend, who's the videographer, my business partner, who is a genius. And he built a jungle wall. Are you kidding me? Yeah, okay. So Joshua Coombs started a movement called Do Something for Nothing, and he's from the UK, so he's coming out from London for our LA event. And he will be coming out, but what he does is he goes around and he humanizes people who live on the streets, and he kind of makes that connection through cutting their hair, and he shares their story. He's so rad. He's the OG of doing it, by the way, and he's like just, his soul is so wonderful. So he's coming out for that. He'll be speaking. A lot of other really amazing people are speaking that I was told I was not allowed to say. But but you can come reach for the stars with us. It will be really fun. There's going to be a lot of wonderful people there, and it's December 3rd, somewhere in LA County. And that is the details of that. Yes. You guys ready to party? Am I missing something? Is it time to have love in this club? Yeah? Okay, Hair Love Club, let's do this. Thank you for being here.
Hair, love, radio.